February 27th, 2023, Powhatan County Board of Supervisors meeting. If I could get Mr. McClung to help me with the Pledge of Allegiance and Mr. Williams with the invocation, that'd be great.
Pledge allegiance to the
flag
flag
of
of
the
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for another wonderful day in Powhatan County and all our many blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Are there any requests to postpone agenda items, additions, deletions, or changes in the order of presentation?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Carmack.
I would like to request to remove 11B from the agenda for further review.
Okay. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor of removing 11B for further discussion, say aye. All opposed? 11B is removed from the agenda. After doing that, with the amended agenda, I have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. A second.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next up, I have an announcement to make this evening. And it's probably going to take me not a lot of time, but I'll get to it pretty quickly. The Board of Supervisors has unanimously hired a new county administrator. And it's a pretty exciting thing for all of us up here. It was a pretty easy decision. It was a lot of conversation that was positive, and we're excited about it. And we think that the citizens of the county, the business owners, and the civic groups, and we know that the regional partners around us will be very excited about it. And that gentleman is sitting to my left, Mr. Brett Chardine. We think that Brett brings an enormous amount of knowledge and wealth to the table. We've done the interview process before, and we have people tell us a lot of things. But the one thing that we know, Brett's shown us, his actions have distributed and shown us how he operates and how he works. He has a great relationship, a working relationship with the staff. He has an enormous amount of respect from them. He comes from, has a master's degree from VCU in urban and regional planning. And it's not something that I think we need to sell you guys on or convince you. You know Brett, he's been in the county for a long time, and we are very, very excited to have him on board. Congratulations, Brett. Congratulations to your family, and congratulations to Powhatan County for a great hire.
Yeah, thank you so much to the board for this opportunity, and the citizens and our staff. You know, we've got so many opportunities here in Powhatan. It's such a special place, and I've enjoyed my time here so far, and very excited, looking forward to this new role.
Wonderful. County Administrator updates.
Yeah, so just briefly wanted to, as we start 2023, look back at 2022 and just some of the accomplishments and things that we did then. So in future years, I would love to do something even more substantial at the beginning of the year, state of the county type address to look back more comprehensively, but just ask our staff and our departments to give us a list of some of the things that they've done and accomplished in the past year. So it was a very, very long list. So just whittled this down to a few things. This is by no means comprehensive. Just picked a few things to highlight here and go through that you have in your packet. So some of those to just touch on briefly that happened in 2022. 45 new hires amongst our staff. 7 of those were the new positions that were part of the last budget. The rest were filling positions that were vacated as people retire, take opportunities and move. Received 344 applications for all of those, which is great, but it was tough to hire in 2022 for a lot of positions, and it still is for some positions in 2023. So that's part of what we continue to work on. It's not unique to Powhatan. It's nationally across the state. A lot of positions are finding a hard time filling them, but we're thankful for the people we were able to bring on board last year to the organization. Number of public work projects were completed, 7 athletic tournaments hosted, pickleball courts. We had the ribbon cutting for that, as well as the gym over at the Powhatan Landmark Center. Then our community development department, they stayed busy as well, 195 certificates of occupancy. We've also been working to scan in and digitize more of our documents. If you've been down in the planning or building department, you'll see a significant portion of that space is taken up with files and folders. So we've scanned over 1,300 documents last year, helped make some space. It also makes those documents more readily available to staff as well as citizens. Rather than having to dig through files, they can just open up a folder, find it, and share it. And processed over 1,300 submissions from individual permits. Hired 2 new plan reviewers in that department, and we also implemented the online portal for online submissions of permits and plans. And then we got the Bluebeam software that allows our building permit reviewers to take in, review, and comment on plans digitally to improve efficiency and timeliness in turning those around. And our building official received an award on behalf of the region that he represents as chair of the VBCOA. Also held a job fair, trying to do more again. We're not unique in having difficulty filling positions, so also working with some of the businesses and industries in Powhatan to try and have job fairs to help them fill the positions that they also struggle with. We were proud to host the VDAX Agritourism Conference. So this is something that rotates between localities on the East Coast. I believe it had been something like 15 years since our region hosted it. So we, along with Goochland, hosted that, showing off some of our farms and agritourism events and locations. And then we also created the History Tour virtual story map. That's something that citizens or visitors can go on to find different historic locations in Powhatan to visit. And then just some other new development that either started or opened, the new sign at Winterfield. Lots of people still constantly hear people that are surprised that that corner of the world is Powhatan County and not Chesterfield. So hopefully that raises a little more awareness that that corner is in fact Powhatan. So that went up late last year. And then just some pictures of some of the other businesses that have opened or either started construction. There with the Blessed Sacrament Huguenot Art Academy broke ground. Historic Whitewood was an event venue the board approved. Classic Granite Marble finally, after several years, was able to open. And then Colony Constructions, new HQ broke ground. And then we have Strickland Oil Brothers and Starbucks. And those, Powhatan's going to continue to see some of those national tenants. And I think these are good examples of how, if we're going to get those, how we can try and deviate from some of the usual corporate architecture and have standards for standing roofs and that kind of look that we want to have along Route 60 particularly. And then for 2023, there's some projects that continue to be under review. That one there is Ivy Brook Daycare. That is in the Winterfield Place area. And then our Public Works Department was busy reviewing 47 utility plans for projects, and then completed the water line loop closure that was something the board supported through the CIP previously to help improve how much water we were flushing and the quality in that area. And libraries, as people started to come back out more and use services in person, they saw a big increase in their visitation, 60% increase over 2021 for visitors. Circulation was up, as well as the number of programs they offered. And then the excellent service of our Commissioner of Revenue, Finance, and Treasurer's offices. You can see there the continued decades of accreditation and certification that they carry. And then lastly, Next Gen 911 went live, and our team was able to leverage a $250,000 grant to help move that along with our land mobile radio system. So great advances there in that technology. And then broke ground on the Firefly broadband project, which was long coming, and won't say much about that because they're up here shortly to give you a more thorough presentation on that. But again, just wanted to highlight some of the things staff and the board and citizens have accomplished. And again, this is just a small snippet of what was done in 2022.
That's quite a bit to be a small snippet. A lot of good things happening, a lot of good things. And thank you, the staff and the board for all of that work and effort that was put forward. Let's go to presentations.
We have Firefly broadband, Gary Wood with us tonight to present and give us some updates on how that project is moving along.
All right, well, thank you for the opportunity to come up, and congratulations, Mr. Charding, on your new position. We want to give you a quick update on Firefly. This is a stage of the project where we actually are working, but it's hard to see it sometimes. So let me see if my clicker works too. Oh, oops. There you go. All right. And we've got a color-coded map because to me, visuals are easier. To give you an update on the different areas and what we're doing in each one of them. The green area, which is kind of northern Trenholm and up around Cartersville Road, is the first area that we actually started construction. We have the underground conduit placed, the fiber, I believe, is pulled in. We haven't gotten it spliced yet. That ties back into our network over in Cartersville. And we've had a small delay that we've gotten past. There's a roundabout that is coming in some future year over in Cartersville. And VDOT took a while getting us a permit to build through that because they couldn't decide exactly how to design it. So we finally came to agreement. We're just burying the conduit 20 feet underneath. We don't think they'll go down that far, and they've agreed. And we started that work this week, the burial under there. That will allow us to start splicing and tying it back into our hut over in Cartersville so that we can get light. Once we get light and splice it all the way down, then we'll start doing the final connections. We have a very good take rate over there. We've got, I think, about 60% or more of the folks have signed up for service. We did have 36 easements, interestingly, to get for private roads because there are a number of small subdivisions that have private roads over there. So we've obtained 32 out of the 36. We expect to get the others. That's one of those types of things that just takes a while early on in a project to do the field work, do the design, get all of those details ironed out. On the Reconnect project in the purple, we've been doing field work. We've gotten the field data collection complete. That is in the design phase right now. Let me go back to field data collection. When we do that work, we have crews going around, a lot of pickups with probably an NTD logo, but then they should have magnetic Firefly contractor logos as well. They have to locate along all the roadways, every location that we have to put in a vault, a handhold, and they're building the information for VDOT permits. So a VDOT permit today, VDOT adapted probably last year, maybe 18 months ago. They saw the advent of broadband. For them to be able to handle permits better, they've cut us back to, we're required to have a permit every 2 miles. So we'll end up with many permits in Powhatan County. And each of those 2 mile segments can take anywhere from 25 to 100 pages of drawings and different things. Some of it's boilerplate, but then it gives them information for each section of the roadway, where the construction is going to take place, how deep it'll be, what else is in the right of way. And then it also includes all the traffic plans. So where we'll have flaggers, where we have to have rumble strips, what types of trucks we have to have and signage. All of that work has been going on. That's what is in the purple. The pinkish area will be the area that we feed off of that backbone once we get the purple in. So we've been doing some work in there, but the main work so far, construction work up in the green area, and most of the field work has been concentrated in the purple so that we can get that moving. Right now we have the Cartersville extension, we're calling it, up in that northwest area. we actually, it shows here, we've got about 80 homes, but I just saw more registrations coming in. I really expect us to be around 60%. That's what we're seeing in most every area, mainly because there aren't other options in the areas we're building in. The Reconnect and Rise projects together will have about 1,800 homes, and I'm not, that number looks a little low for anticipated pre-registrations. Again, generally I think we may have 720 people who are registered. We generally will see about 60% of folks taking services who come through. So far, we've spent about 700,000 in Powhatan with the underground work we've done, with the engineering work, field data collection. That's a small piece out of the total, obviously, that we have to, that we'll be investing in the county. We will end up with about 2,000 passings and about 200 miles of fiber. This first little piece is, I think, maybe 15 miles up in that northwest area that first goes in. So that's a really quick run through of where we are. We have some areas under construction. Let me go back to that Reconnect project. Once we get the design complete, we've got the field data collection complete. It's in design. Once we get the design complete, because that section is funded by an RUS grant, we have to send the design back through the Department of Agriculture and Rural Utilities Service for approval. That'll take about a month. We're hoping that it'll get a little quicker, but we anticipate sending that up probably within the next 2 to 4 weeks. When we get that back, then we can go to the next step of getting the contract in place and putting people on the ground to start that work. So it'll be a little bit more time before you see people in the Reconnect area. We're hoping to have people splicing. There should be people splicing up in the northwest area within the next couple of weeks, once we get the fiber pulled all the way through. And then we'll start connections when we finish the splicing up. So sometime next couple of months, I would expect we're ready to start some connections up there. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Carmack.
2 questions. If you could give us a realistic timeline for the green,
Mhm.
the pink and the purple, as far as actual install up and running, that would be good. And then I have a follow-up question from that.
Well, the green, we should be connecting people again within the next couple of months.
Okay.
Maybe on the earlier side of that. That's when we'll start connecting. We don't go in and just connect everybody all at once.
Right.
Depending on the number of people, we'll send a couple of crews in. It'll take a couple of months, but we should start connecting those. I'm gonna say 2 to 4 weeks for splicing. So let's say a month, and if things go haywire, within 2 months, we should be starting to do some connections. The purple area is a little tougher because it's partly dependent on that review by RUS. We've had reviews go through in 2 weeks, and we've had them go through in 12 weeks.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we get the 2-week version or the 4-week version. Once that review is complete, will be another month or 6 weeks after that. So that, to give you the window, we're probably 2 to 4 weeks from putting it in for review, somewhere between 1 to 3 months for review. Again, I'm hoping on the shorter side. And then another month after that to start construction. So we could start as soon as 3 months from now. If we start construction 3 months from now, you're probably 3 months away, 3 to 4 months from having some final connections begin. We also have to place a communications hut. We are working with Southside to locate that at their substation that's on 522, just northwest of here. We're getting close to a final lease. Then you'll see us come to the county with requests for building permits to put that in. That'll run simultaneous, but we have to get that in. That'll be the source of light for all of the purple and pink areas.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see things like that ongoing, but general time frame, 4 to 6 months to start connecting in the Reconnect area. And in the other RISE areas, That should follow on closely behind the reconnect. And it would be better for me to come back at a future time and give you breakouts of the various areas there, because we're
Right.
going to build some areas of the county before others.
Right.
Some of them should start by late summer or fall. Some of them may go into the first part of next year or mid-year. So that's a kind of a high level view of where we'll be.
Okay, you had mentioned some of the permits with VDOT. Is there
Mhm.
anything that Powhatan County can do to make your life easier? I mean, I understand the building permit with the hut or whatever you
Right.
called it, but is there anything else that we can do to help kind of, expedite this?
Well, I appreciate that question. We've gotten pretty good at dealing with VDOT with most of the offices we deal with. It's just a question now of going through the process. So I'm pretty comfortable that we have developed a good relationship with the folks who'll be reviewing it. But I will check into it, and if we need more contacts, I will check through the county administrator and see what we can do to see if the county can put in a good word for us that we're trustworthy. And I think generally the VDOT districts have talked to each other and found that we do a good job. Our contractors do a really good job. We've developed a good reputation and have very few problems with VDOT, actually.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cox?
Good to see you here again this evening.
Thank you.
Are you having any supply chain problems? Okay. Got it.
We are not. So we have been building at a pretty rapid pace now for 4 years with our larger project. And because of that, we've established a allocation from the fiber manufacturers and the various material manufacturers, and we're continuing that. That has helped us. If you're first going in and starting projects and don't have that track record, then people are having some supply chain issues because there is some limited amount of material. Because we've been building at about 600 to 800 miles of fiber a year, we're getting 600 to 800 miles of fiber and everything that comes with it, all the taps, splices, enclosures, scan holes. So far we have not had that issue. We've been very fortunate on the labor side not to have any, again, issues finding the line workers, the splicers, and those types of things. If anything, the transition, because of the time it's taken to do some of the field work, has given us a little bump. We've got more splicers right now than we can put in the field. So we're actually finding some things for splicers to do until enough fiber gets in ahead of them. It's another reason we're trying to move as fast as possible, because this whole big project across 14 counties has a number of things running like a large train. And when you get a bump in one area, it slows everything down behind it. So we're trying to push the designers and field work so that we can keep everybody the most efficiently employed. But so far, we have not had labor or supply chain issues.
Are all of the contract problems with the government behind us? All of the grants had to have multiple levels.
So the state project runs very smoothly and very predictably. USDA is the contracting issues are behind us. We still go through the review with them. Generally, they have gotten better at managing that, but because it's the federal government and it's so large, you never know when your design is going to hit somebody's desk who is not familiar, and that's when you get the 2-month or 3-month review. Sometimes it goes back and forth. We've worked really hard at establishing a good relationship with our local contact with USDA, and he's done a good job of facilitating getting our designs to the right people. So I'm hopeful that we'll continue that, but that's the one black box piece that we don't get full visibility on.
In your RISE project figures, your slide, you talk about total passings within RISE 2050. What is a passing?
That's either home or business.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Woods. Appreciate that update.
So next we have our Commissioner of Revenue, Mr. Jamie Timberlake, will give us an update on the real estate assessments.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
It's been a busy couple weeks. I apologize that I don't have a nice slide presentation for you. That would be my goal in the future, but we've been busy. So phones have been ringing off the hook. Just to let you know, big picture, I think last month I gave you some of the things that we want to have discussions about as we talk about reassessments, but for just a big success with 3 people in the office, we pulled off a full annual assessment that has met the state standard and basically been given the head nod by the state for all of our ratios and the way that we went about it. I did end up using a contractor for the commercial, which I told you about. But having said all that, we did that for about 1/3 of the price of what we've done it for on every year in the past. So I think that's something just to start out with. We are getting ready to interview hopefully in 2 weeks for the chief assessor, deputy assessor position. We got probably about 9 applicants in over the last couple weeks, actually about 4 weeks. 3 of which are very, very strong applications. So I'm looking forward to that interview process after we get done with appeals. I think I had the one other thing just to touch on, we have we have all of our vehicles staffed now, thanks to the sheriff's department. We got one of the old animal control vehicles. It's going through its final checks at the school transportation facility, and I've gotten an email that it's good to go, just needed a few minor things. And then the other one was from facilities. We repurposed one of their vehicles that they got replaced, so that's about $60,000 that the county saved in vehicles. So big high level stuff. Be glad to answer any questions about any of that stuff. Some specific questions that I had from you all over the last couple of weeks. One was what other localities have going on this year as far as assessments, the annual cycles that they have, and just wanted to run through those real quick. So Chesterfield is an annual cycle. They had an increase of 8.8% this year. Dinwiddie is on a 6-year cycle. Their last reassessment was 2019, in which they had a 19% increase. She does track their annual each year until they get to their assessment, and they're currently running 44% low compared to their sales. So they have a assessment coming up that could be pretty dangerous in the state size. If you drop below 70%, you get kind of the nasty gram from the state that says you're not in compliance with the state code. Goochland does an annual. They had a 9.6% just tied to their reassessment this year. Their total assessment was that went up about 13%. That's including their new construction. Henrico does an annual. They went up 13.6%. Amelia is on a 6-year cycle. They got a nasty gram from the state last year, and so they had to do an assessment in a 5th year. They are looking at about a 38% increase this year. Cumberland's on a 4-year cycle. 2020 was their last one. They had an 11.3% increase, and they're getting ready to start their field work for 2024 coming up pretty soon. But she doesn't necessarily track it in between assessments, so I didn't have any current numbers for her. New Kent was the last one that I had been specifically asked about. They're on a 2-year cycle. Their 2022 was a 28% increase. And she tracks their sales the same way I do by the month. So she had very accurate numbers. Her 2022 sales data, now that's not an assessment, just their sales data, was a 17% increase. And their new assessment will be in January of 2024. She's expecting it to not go, very far. So bring it back to Powhatan locally. It's, the notices are out. It's official. We had a 18.9%. I'm quoting, I should have brought my printout, but high 18% overall. That included all of our new construction. You take that out of the process, we end up with about a 15.8% increase. So, we're right in the middle of all those localities that are around us. I continue to get the very first phone call of my mortgage is going up X amount of dollars. And I just, I hope that I can work harder. I don't know how, but I hope I can work harder to help people understand that this is state code driven, that these policies have nothing to do with what their taxes and their mortgages are. This is assessed values based on the sales that are in the county. Sales study, I've bought a printed out copy with me. We have it electronically on the website, have for multiple weeks now. We will print it out for you if you want a copy. This is every single sales that counted in the sales ratio study for 2022, 549 of them is what we ended up with. And I challenge people to just take their finger and blindly point at one column and then look down and read what we had it assessed for in 2020, $274,100. And there's lots of other information on here, but those are the two columns that everybody wants to worry about. And then you go one column to the left and see what it sold for on April the 11th, 2022 was $333,400. That's a $55,000 increase. I mean, we can't make this stuff up. I know it's hard to swallow when you're not trying to sell your house, and I'm not going anywhere. Mine went up, $65,000, but this stuff is required by state code, and it's how we get our funding. And when we wrap our arms around that and can truly understand it, is it a perfect system? Absolutely not. But this is a system that we deal with in Virginia, and the better we are at working and using the system, the better off our taxes end up being, because you all now have the option of seeing what real values are and knowing where you can set a tax rate for the needs of what Powhatan needs. So again, super proud of my team and where we're at. We still have one vacancy, and hopefully that'll be filled shortly. And I'm just here to answer any questions that y'all have.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. McClung.
I'd like to commend Jamie and his staff for doing what they do, short staff, but I would, real quickly, I'd like to have the sales report, a copy of it.
Absolutely.
I'll come by and get it tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's
Appreciate it.
online. It's on the
I know.
website. It's the second key under the reassessment. So
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Carmack.
I know I'm not expecting you to be a mind reader or fortune teller, but do you see the rates in your experience kind of historically with such a large spike over the next year? Do you see it leveling off? Do they ever decrease literally,
So
or
last
does it
time we
more
saw-
level?
the last time we saw the decrease was 2008, which didn't affect us until 2010. And that carried about 4 years through to 2014, which is where we started kind of leveling out. 2014 was actually a good, healthy, I mean, this is not healthy growth. I mean, in
Correct.
reality, this is not what you want, but it is what it is. I mean, that's, we have to deal with the numbers as the state code requires us to. What you'd like to see is a 2-3%, healthy growth, but even the counties who we aspire to and use as model counties, they're seeing 17% increases. The market is just unreal right now. And I would love to say that within interest rates and inflation and the things we're seeing at the federal level, that, we're going to see some decline in something. I do our numbers every month. January's numbers were 23%.
So they were still,
They were higher. They're
Wow.
7% higher than last year. There's people in the market that say, well, those were leftover sales from December that, had kind of already were in the system. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what February
but still,
does.
yeah.
But I mean, you can't, you can't make it up. It's all real data. We just have to understand it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Williams.
Jamie, you just mentioned in response to Mrs. Carmack's question about seeing any type of downturn after a spike. You referenced 2008 and that period through 2014, 2008 through 2010, I remember very well. The bottom went out of the real estate market.
Yes, sir.
In fact, in 2010, we were wondering if the world was going to quit spinning.
Right.
So I'm not sure that is a good benchmark, that we should be pegging anything to.
Oh, agreed. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that's the last, she asked the
Yeah,
last decrease we'd seen. That's the only decrease.
I'm
we've seen.
clarifying
Yeah, yes, sir.
The
In this
background.
county, that's the only decrease we've seen
Okay.
in 20 years
Okay,
in assessments. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else? I've got a question, Mr. Timberlake.
Yes, sir.
Can you briefly give us and the public how simple it is to appeal?
You know, I should have done that. You can email, you can call. I love to see you face to face because it gives me a chance to talk to you. We've had 25 email, appeals today, some in person, some on phone, by phone, but if you just, again, it's very easy to make the appeal, but once you bring the information forward and you get to see some of this data, it truly changes the aspect. It's very easy to post ugly names and things on Facebook. And as long as it took you to make that post and hit send, you could have emailed us and we could have had a conversation about it. I mean, it's that simple. And we are there for you. I mean, that's, if anybody knows me, it doesn't matter what time it is. We're doing assessments in the evening. Today was just a 9 to 4 deal. Tomorrow, we're doing them until 7 o'clock in the evening. Next week, we have evening appointment, times for appointments all week. We sent out 16,000 notices and we've had 70 calls probably that have gone through with an appeal.
Is that a high number, a low number, an average number?
So, the
Compared
last
to-
reassessment we did, there was 300 appeals.
Okay,
So,
so we're at 70 now. What's the cutoff date on the appeals? There's a date where you won't take any more. What is that?
correct. So we kind of lay it out as the 3 phases. This is what I call, you know, the easiest and kind of the free phase. We're paid taxpayer, you know, employees. We're there to answer your questions and it costs you nothing but a little bit of time. After the 10th, then it'll go to the Board of Equalization. Board of Equalization is a little bit more formal. They're appointed by the clerk of the court and the judge, and they will then hear a little more formal case. Sometimes lawyers are involved. Most of the times you can bring your own case. And then after that, the only thing we can fix after that is administrative corrections. So any valuation or anything would have to, what code calls it is actually the county did something wrong in the process and you can sue the county and that's not gonna be free. So very easy. Phone
Not
call,
difficult.
804-598-3752. Our emails are our first initial and our last name at powhatanva.gov. It's, I mean, it's almost too simple.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we
Mr.
move
Cox.
forward,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chardon, if you would, could you take both of these presentations and strip them out and put them on our website? So when we have questions, we have a place to send people, at least initially, to get some information.
Yep, as for the Firefly as well as the assessment, those two?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
We can do
because
that.
the questions are going to continue.
Yeah, the easier we can make it for where the public can find
Mhm.
answers.
Yep.
They have questions, and if they can find the correct answer, that's a big plus. And I think the website's probably a great place. Good suggestion, Mr. Cox.
Thank you, sir.
Good suggestion. Okay, we will now open up the public comment period for individuals coming to speak. You have 3 minutes. If you're representing a group, you can have 5 minutes.
Hi there.
Name and address, please.
Yes, I'm Jennifer Nutter. I live in 1371 Dorset Road here in Powhatan. I just thought I'd come up. I'm seeing a lot of sort of hostile activity on Facebook and a lot of confusion. So I came up tonight maybe suggesting if we could do some sort of explainer video about the assessments to clarify the process, the tools that are used, so that I think it could really clear things up for residents. I'm a former teacher, I'm a media designer now, and I understand how important these types of videos can be in clarifying confusing topics. So I just wanted to suggest that. That's all.
That's great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the suggestion. And as we just said, anything you can do to make it easier and get the information to the public, I agree with you completely, completely. Yes, sir.
Harry Markland, Hope Meadow Road. Congratulations, Mr. Chardine. Overdue. I'm sure by now everyone present is aware of the movement across the country to remove sexually explicit materials from our schools. In fact, here in Virginia, our governor is attempting to do the same thing. Unfortunately, it appears that some of our school board members, school administration, and teachers are obsessed with indoctrinating and grooming our children. A large number of teachers attended the last school board meeting for the purpose of voicing their opposition to school policy and procedure additions that were put forth by school board members Dr. Taylor and Mrs. Hurt. Those additions would have caused Powhatan's policies to better conform to the governor's recent edict. Interestingly, one teacher stated that his kids wanted to have a class on cybersecurity. The teacher told the board that you couldn't teach cybersecurity without discussing Alan Turing. Alan was the first person to invent artificial intelligence. He was a genius. Unfortunately, the teacher claimed that it's impossible to talk about Mr. Turing without teaching that Mr. Turing was gay and committed suicide. Now, my question is, why do we need to focus on his personal life at all? What did that have to do with the impact that he had on our society? Over the past year or so, many Powhatan parents have voiced their opposition to having sexually explicit materials in the classrooms. When it came to a vote on the policy additions, they were voted down 3-2. One school board member was clearly siding with the teachers. 2 members clearly succumbed to the demands of the teacher. What's interesting to me is the school board's the employer and the teachers are the employees. As such, the school board should be telling the teachers what to teach and how to do their job, not the other way around. Now, what I heard afterward, if it's true, and I don't know, is very troubling. And that is that a member of the administration encouraged teachers in advance to attend the meeting and oppose the additions. It's apparent to many that the school board is a runaway entity with no concern for the voters who elected them. I'm here to ask you to intervene. Use the power that you have. Rein in the uncontrolled spending and cut their budget. Don't allow them to spend our tax dollars on inappropriate classroom materials. The public will be watching and will publicize who is truly concerned about our kids, who takes action, and who's okay with just staying on the sidelines. To believe that there's no fraud, waste, or abuse in a school budget of $50+ million is just absurd. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you have anyone online, Mr. Chardon?
We do have a hand raised, Michelle Stinnett, it says.
Ms. Stinnett?
Hi, my name is Michelle Stinnett. My address is 2889 Cruise Lane. And I'd like to speak on the assessments. I understand that Powhatan is growing and that's a great thing. I also understand the thought of supply and demand, especially with all the big corporations allowing their employees to work from home. With that being said, that's caused a rapid influx of people from Northern Virginia and Charlottesville to purchase property out here because they don't have to commute. The assessments went up. I get it. I would like to see, or is it possible for us to publish the mill rates in these counties that we're referencing that were right on target with the assessment values? Powhatan has an extremely high mill rate. And I think that's where the people are having the issue is that, you know, my tax liability just went up another $800 a year. I don't have a butler or a pool boy. It's the high mill rate that is really the problem. And, you know, I'm gonna move out of Powhatan. And I'm not the only person that is making those plans to do so. I'm being run from my home. So if we could publish those mill rates for the counties that we're referencing, that we are right on target with, that would be great, because I think we will find that Powhatan's tax rate is significantly higher than the surrounding counties, except for Chesterfield, but we're not Chesterfield. We don't want to be Chesterfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone else. We'll close the public comment period. That'll bring us to the consent agenda. Have a motion to pass the consent agenda.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Then moving on to appointments, we just have one this evening for the Central Virginia Waste Management Authority, CVWMA. Mr. Johnny Mellis of our Public Works staff. He has been serving as this alternate for some time. Recommend that he continue as such.
Let's get a motion.
I'd move to reappoint Johnny Mellis to the Central Virginia Waste Management Authority.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Old business.
Then we have ordinance this evening, O2022-35. Our interim planning director, Mr. Bart Knuckles, he will go through this with us. This was continued from the last meeting relating to our planned development district zoning ordinance text amendment.
Evening, Mr. Knuckles.
Good evening, and I'll be brief, but I will update both the board and the audience on where we've been and where we are right now. This is the proposed amendment to the county code that would add a new zoning district called the Planned Development District. The amendment creates a flexible zoning district where some of the specifics that are often dictated in the zoning district are instead stated in the master plan of a planned development district. Similar to some of your PD districts, I believe, that you currently have in Powhatan and in your code. As a form of update, the amendment was forwarded to the Planning Commission through the Board of Supervisors in 9/16/22. At the September 2016 Board of Supervisors meeting, the board instructed the staff to closely align the planned development district with the 2021 comprehensive plan. Several changes were made subsequent to that meeting. The density section has been edited to cap the number of dwelling units to 4 dwelling units west of 288 and 9 in the Route 211 special area plan, limiting residential uses 30% of the overall development acreage. By right, conditional use permits were vetted to ensure compliance with the 2021 comprehensive plan, requiring a minimum 30% of commercial industrial square footage to be built and receive a certificate of occupancy prior to any residential development taking place. A revised version of those edits were discussed in October. There was additional discussions requested the staff make edits. A version was presented in January of this year. Additional edits were requested, and they were as follows: a reordering of some of the sections where it appeared to be some of the section letters were repetitive. Removal of amusement park and motorsport park from the list of uses. Moving of commercial landscape operations from permitted to conditional uses. And with item C requiring 30% of construction prior to a C of O. It appeared to the staff that paragraphs 11 and 12 were redundant in our view. So we removed those. They were removed accordingly. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Cox.
Mr. Knuckles, to the best of your ability, does this ordinance mirror what's in the comprehensive plan?
To the best of my knowledge of the comp plan, it attempts to do that as outlined in the
Thank you. If the board would turn to page 50. And if you would go to section L. It says lots may front private roads as a part of an approved PDD plan. I asked our county attorney about that, and he suggested maybe a clarification here would be because it should be commercial, not residential. The inner parcel for the commercial piece of it. Mr. Lackney?
Yes, our subdivision ordinance, private road 68111 allows private roads, internal roads on commercial. That language doesn't make much sense if we're talking about private residential roads because they wouldn't be allowed there. So my recommendation to Mr. Cox was we just add the word commercial so that it's no ambiguity, but it clearly is addressing commercial roads, which are allowed under our private road standards.
So lots may front a commercial private road?
Right. I think that just makes it clearer because it's certainly what we're talking about.
Mr. Chairman? Are you, I'm
Hold
sorry.
on
are
one
you-
second.
Yeah,
Mr. Cox, are you
'cause I have
finished?
a question on that, just for
Okay.
clarity.
I'm fine.
You good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Ms. Carmack.
Say what happens if you have a community that's like a gated community, like a gray walls? Those are technically private roads. So, I mean, I think when we think of a private road, we think of a dirt road in, the country, but you can have, communities that are considered, private roads, but they maintain themselves. What do you think of that?
Well, if that's the intention in the PDD, that we could anticipate a gated community, because a gated community requires board of supervisors approval.
Yeah, I'm just,
The commercial roads can be approved by staff. So that's why because it was a PDD district, I assumed we were talking about staff approval on that road. You could say commercial or gated community roads if you're concerned about that.
I just was,
Yeah.
it's just an option to throw out there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Cox.
this is a mixed use development and it's not likely to be a high-end gated. That's just, those things seem to be incompatible with me in terms of the way I see most gated communities. I don't have any problems with gated. I just looked at that and said, wow, we control private roads. That's a separate subdivision ordinance.
Well,
Just looking for some clarity, that's all.
we could put commercial and gated just to keep the
That's fine.
flexibility.
That's
In
fine.
we could as well, if we want to just reference that section of the subdivision ordinance. In our subdivision ordinance, it spells out the instances where private roads can be permitted. So staff may approve them for family divisions of no more than 10 lots, minor divisions of no more than 2 lots, or commercial business industrial park. Then the board of supervisors may approve private roads for internal access for gated community, conservation division, or a road serving 3 to 10 lots. So we do have a provision for gated community private roads in our ordinance, but it's board approved.
Well, if you just put commercial or gated communities in front of private road, then I think we're fine. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else?
I think that needs to be made as a motion to amend what's in front of us and voted on.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 0-2022-35 as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Comments, discussions? I have a question. Off of that topic, how did we arrive at the 30% number, Mr. Knuckles?
My understanding when this ordinance was authored, perhaps they were referencing, I think there's a 30% clause within the comprehensive plan. But beyond that, I think from a staffing standpoint, whether it's 30, 20, 40, or some other number that the board finds comfortable with, I don't think there's a lot of deep commitment by the staff to that 30%. It was a number that was referenced in your comprehensive plan.
So the 70-30 split under economic opportunity is a 70% for commercial and
Right.
30% for residential.
Right.
The 30% of the commercial, the way this reads, must be approved with a certificate of occupancy issued
Yes, sir.
before you can begin the residential component to the development.
Yes, sir.
So my question is that 30%, are you saying that's in the comprehensive plan?
Not
Yes, trying to remember.
Yes.
I believe it
Yes.
is. I thought that's what I read in your plan. Yes.
That the 30% of the commercial property must be completed with a certificate of occupancy before any of the residential can go.
I could not say with confidence that's what it says. I don't have it in front of me. I know there's a reference of 30% commercial as the component leading into any residential component, but I wish I could answer that more clearly, but I'm sorry, I don't have that committed to memory.
I remember it as 70-30 split, but I didn't remember that. Was there a 30% number? Because the last time we were here, that number was 100%.
Right.
And I think Ms. Carmack, you said, there's no need in even doing this if it's 100%. So I guess, how did it go from 100 to 30? I mean, Scott, you seem to have an answer. So
I'm sitting here reading it, okay? First of all, the comprehensive plan says residential uses up to 30% of the project area. Okay, you can have 100% commercial. You don't have to have residential, okay?
right.
So then it says the construction of any residential unit shall be phased and coordinated with the completion of commercial light industrial buildings so that residential and non-residential uses are developed concurrently. Okay, this ordinance actually gives you is easier to meet than the comprehensive plan because it only says you have to have a percentage of the commercial done before you can get residential COs. This comprehensive plan says they'll be developed concurrently so that you must complete all of them at the same time.
So it doesn't say 30% in the comprehensive plan.
No, it says concurrently, which means 100%. The 30%, by the way, since I still have the floor, the 30% of residential is a number that Mrs. Carmack brought to us in our June discussions of last year when we were talking about the comprehensive plan. I wanted 0% residential. Mrs. Carmack's suggestion, and that was supported by 3 members, was that we would have 30% and that they would be developed concurrently. Then the question was, what did that mean? That's what we said at that point. What did that mean? And the answer was we would spell it out when we wrote the ordinance. And that's what this is trying to do.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Carmack.
Can I offer just a little bit of clarity on that? The 70-30 actually came from the previous board and planning commission when we were talking about the whole village growth areas and all that. It goes back even far more than this board. What we brought were the 2-3 development areas, the Dorset Road, Page Road, 7-Eleven. That was what we discussed. The 70-30 was, I can go back years, and that was what was discussed. I think Mr. Williams probably could concur because we had those small groups with Mr. Melton, you and myself, when we were talking, trying to hone in on the comprehensive plan.
I wish you hadn't asked me, because I'm sitting there thinking.
I mean, it's going back a while.
I remember us discussing it, but to ask me to go back and about the 70-30, did we have the 70-30 before this board? Was that, is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Mhm. We did.
I think you're right. I think that was the case. But I'm gonna go back. I've been listening to the discussion. Both Mr. Byerly makes a good point, and Mr. Cox made a good point. There was nothing in there that said, that, you had to have 30, well, it was 30%. We did agree with that. So whatever the history is, we have 70-30. I think we agree with that, don't we?
We do.
Okay. So we said 30% is going to be commercial and 70% is going to be residential.
Reverse.
Huh?
Not to interrupt you, but it's a reverse of what you just said.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just a little correction.
Just a little slip. that
Yeah,
way.
that's
Just-
all.
Just a little
Yeah.
slip. It's kind of like the federal government with the budget. It's just
That's
a
right.
decimal, don't worry about it. So now the question is the progression. And Mr. Cox makes a good point. He says, with that ratio, we're going to develop concurrently. In other words, if you do a certain percent of commercial, let's say 10% of the 30%, then you can do a concurrent proportional amount with residential. Is that the interpretation that you're providing?
That's what the comprehensive plan says.
I said interpretation of the, so,
What, go ahead.
so that's my understanding. So that, you're right, that's what the comprehensive plan that you've read says. So I think we're clear on that from what the comprehensive plan says. If you have the interpretation that concurrently means that you have this ratio between residential and commercial, 30% is going to be commercial. But as you do it concurrently, as you build out, a percentage of the commercial corresponds to the percentage of residential. So if you're going to do a certain percent of the commercial and you do that, then there is a proportional representation you can do with residential. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that okay?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm hearing, if it makes sense or not. If you do 30% of the commercial, then you should be able to do 30% of the residential concurrently
Yeah.
and build it out that way.
30% of the 30.
Yeah, I mean, it gets confusing with the 70-30 split. The 70-30 split is 70 on commercial and 30% on
But the phasing
residential.
and the and
Right.
concurrently are the operative words.
Right, and so concurrently, if you're doing 20% residential, or let's just say the commercial, and then you got to do 20%, or you should do 20%.
Or you can.
Right, yeah, you have that,
As Bill said, you
option.
can do 100% commercial.
right, correct. You don't have to do
don't have to.
all commercial. You could do all commercial. You could take the whole parcel and do all commercial. But if you're splitting it 70-30, then you should be able to do 30% of the commercial and 30% of the residential.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's-
yes.
I think that's what we're saying.
That's what I would.
So when you do, just to go up a little bit farther to make sure, if you say, the developer comes in and they're gonna do 50% of the commercial, at that point, they can do 50%. If they have 50% or 10% of the commercial done and the certificate of occupancy is issued, at that point, they can go do the same exact percentage
Proportional percentage.
of
Residential.
residential. Saying that, then why do we have this 30%? Why doesn't that just go away? No,
Ms.
go ahead.
Finally, I don't agree with, okay? If you do 50% of the commercial, as I read this, if you do 50% of the commercial, then you can do all 30% of the all of the residential, which is 30% of the development. After you do, what this says is after you do 30% of the commercial industrial of the 70, we'll use a 70-30.
Sure, got it.
Okay, so if you use 30% of the commercial industrial of the 70%, then you can start issuing certificates of occupancy for residential. I think once the 30% of the commercial is done, you're free to do 30%, all 30% of the residential. So if you build out 50% of the commercial, you can have your 30% residential.
Right,
That's,
okay.
you got to get 30% of commercial to turn the residential loose.
Yeah, once you hit the 30% number,
Yes,
you can do how much residential?
you can do all of the residential.
All of the 30%,
All of the 30, yep.
whatever. If it's 100 acres and there's 30 acres, you can do it all at that
Well, it
point.
says you can start issuing certificates of occupancy. So there's a question of whether you want to, how fast you want to build your residential until you get your commercial.
Normally, they want to build that first.
Yes. yes,
I get that point.
Okay, and
I
this
understand.
whole point says, okay, you can't have a certificate of occupancy for residential till you have 30% of the commercial done. After that,
You
as
can
I
do
read it,
whatever.
you're
You can do
good, you're
whatever.
good to go. Unless unless you have, and there's another section under plan development, development phasing plan, which is the option of the contractor. If they have a phasing plan, they have to follow that.
Right.
But that's up to them. They don't have to do that if they don't want to. So the comprehensive plan says you'll do it concurrently. This doesn't require it to be that, it's not that rigorous. This says, okay, we just want to make sure you're really going to build some commercial stuff.
Mhm. And that's where, I just don't know where that 30% come from, but that's the number. How did we arrive at that number? Is that just a number that we pulled out of the sky and said 30%? Because I just don't remember that number.
Mr. Firefly, I have to go back and that was last June, okay? Given all that's been gone over the dam since then.
Mr.
Quite a bit.
Chairman, I
Quite a
don't know
bit.
if we ever had specificity in the numbers. I think we all agreed that we wanted the 70-30, within reason, the 70-30 split, and that we didn't want the residential to come in and with promises of commercial and none of that developing. That was the whole goal of this. I mean,
Let her finish.
so
I thought she was.
however we want to accomplish that, I don't really care, but I think we all agree, shockingly, that that is the goal, is that we get some commercial development out of this.
Up front.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Williams.
I agree with Mrs. Carmack. That was the goal all along, because we didn't want to see what happened over in other localities, and we actually saw it happen here in the county with a rezoning request where we knew the residential was going to get done and the amount that was put aside for commercial would never be developed. The pro forma didn't need the commercial. This was going to be developed by a company, or excuse me, a company that specialized in residential. So Mrs. Carmack is exactly right. We wanted to learn from other localities where they experienced build out of the residential and the commercial never came into being. So across the river, for example, they actually put in that percentage so that they wouldn't end up with 100% residential and not get the commercial, which was the mutual desire of the governing body to have both. So I'm just agreeing with Mrs. Carmack.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
it was a month ago that I didn't like the 100% of commercial being done before you start the residential, so we got that clear, so
We took care of
we
that.
took care of that.
Yeah, and
That
again, I
was the
agree
issue
with
I
Mrs.
had.
Carmack. I don't know where that came
And
from.
this-
I think it was just.
This
a
county
admin
needs,
mistake.
we need businesses in this county.
Yeah,
It would help with everything.
that was a,
Even with
Mistake.
Mr. Timberlake's
Nobody could account for
presentation, it
that.
would help.
Right.
I agree.
Mr. Knuckles, you look like you want to say something, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to allay fears that Powhatan is somehow creating something here that's never been done before. And I agree with your comments, it has been. In Southern Pines, where I worked for many, many years, we had a similar situation where we had a large area, about 500 acres between three towns that sent vacant. It was forested. Nobody wanted that to be 100% residential. So the town put together, some of it I authored and some others authored, very similar standards where, again, 30% was used, 70% was used, 50% was used. And some of that language stated that no more than 30% of that area could be developed as residential, further stating a limitation on big box commercial like Targets and so forth, that you couldn't have more than 50% of the commercial or office space to be in a big box format. That project is now moved in 20 years to almost full build out. That's 500 acres. And it followed that format. So yeah, there was some tweaking along the way, and I suspect your code here, as you move along, this being a tool in your toolbox, will have to be taken out, adjusted, and put back in as you move through development projects. But from a starting point, this is within the wheelhouse of what communities have done in many other places. I don't know if that allays any fears or not, but it's not an uncommon practice, what I've seen.
Well, it's a starting point is what you're saying.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and so when you have those situations where development comes in, and I don't think there's any doubt, the five of us agree the commercial is the significant component to it all of what we want to see. We hear the tax issues now, and that's how one way you can help reduce the tax issue is having more commercial base here. So when you have that as a starting point, if a developer comes in, are you locked in at 70-30? Or are you in a starting point? That's where you want to be. Because if you're at a starting point, I mean, this is an ordinance. So if it says 70-30, I mean, that's where you got to be.
It is.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Would you do a roll call vote?
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. McClung,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Mrs. Carmack,
Aye.
Mr. Byerly.
Aye.
We have one public hearing this evening, ordinance 2023-01, an amendment to the county's animal ordinance to address animals running at large. So this ordinance clarifies some of our definitions, exceptions to when an animal is or is not running at large, brings it into line with some changes with state code, as well as changes to the definition of service animals, and then adds a ability for a citizen to file suit as well as the existing civil penalties that exist. So this was something you all initiated at the last meeting. We have received no comments that I'm aware of on this proposed change so far.
We will open the floor up for public comment on for the public hearing. Anyone online?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Not seeing anyone. We'll close the public comment period. Public comment. Board members, questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Cox.
Mr. Chardon, have there been any changes in this from what we saw last month?
No.
No, okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve ordinance number 0-2023-01.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Chardon.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. McClung,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Carmack,
Aye.
Mr. Byerly.
Aye. That'll bring us to our final public comment period for the evening. If you're an individual and you'd like to speak to the board, you have 3 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, you can have up to 5 minutes.
Good evening, Steve Barham, 3492 Richards Run, Powhatan, Virginia. First, glad to see we got a new county administrator. I think I made a great choice. I've got a question what just went on with this ordinance. And this is a question, hopefully I'll get an answer. I know y'all can't answer from up there, but maybe get an answer by tomorrow. We approved the ordinance stating that 70% of these developments, these economic developments, like we got 2 of them going on in the county, have to be 70% commercial and 30% residential. And then, according to what Mr. Cox was saying, what the ordinance says, we took out this 30%, it's got to be developed first, fine. But instead, we would do it concurrently. If you do 40%, or say 20%, 30% commercial, then you can do 30% of the residential. That was my understanding. Now, what did y'all approve? Maybe I'm not understanding, maybe I'm stupid, but I don't think so. I'm trying to find out what y'all approved. Y'all took a vote. I never heard what it was. The man offered an ordinance with 30%. And I presume that was taken out. But my understanding, what's in the comprehensive plan, which I'll spend a great deal of time on, which was brought on and is here, was 70% commercial, 30% residential, concurrently developed. So just because you get 30% commercial, you can't run over and rush and do all that 30%, the total of the residential. It's my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe y'all can clarify it for me. Because if you just do 30% commercial, and if you got 100 acres and you got 30 acres, 4 units per acre, all of a sudden we got 120 multifamily units. So I'd like to get clarification on that. Y'all, I know the board cannot speak to the public. That's unheard of. I know it's, my God, it's an evil thing, but I would appreciate if somebody could at least email me, give me a response. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Brett, can you get him the information tomorrow?
Yes.
Of what we just voted on? Not seeing anyone else, anyone on Zoom?
No, sir.
We'll close the public comment period. County attorney comments, Mr. Latchney?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
County administrator comments?
Yeah, just again, thank you for the opportunity and look forward to it. That's it tonight.
Okay. Board comments. Let's go with District 1. You have any comments this evening, Mr. Williams?
Oh, yes. It's tradition, you know that, Brett. Anytime we have a new county administrator, you treat the board to pizza and beer. We're immediately adjourning the meeting. I would like to suggest you invite the county administrator and any of the people in attendance tonight to your tree. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I almost forgot that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for those comments. You can let us know where later. District 2.
I'd like to say congratulations, Mr. Chardon, and well-deserved. You do a great job. Glad you're aboard.
Mr. Cox, District 4.
District 3.
I know.
Thank you. For those of you who have been wondering what this is the proposed budget by the county administrator. And so it is light reading for the past week or the next week as we start our serious discussions about how much of your money we're going to spend and where we're going to spend it. So it's in play. If you have questions, ask us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cox. Ms. Carmack, District 5.
Just a congratulations to Mr. Chardine. Looking forward to working with you more.
We're adjourned.